All right, so I think I've started recording. Has everybody seen that recording is in progress? All right, great. So welcome to the draft MS4 general permit 2023 public meeting. We're here today, July 11th, 2023, to give an overview of the draft MS4 permit and to receive any public comments. What I would request is if anyone does have public comments that they would like to submit, please do submit those in writing as well as bringing them to our attention today. That way we can make sure that they are accurately reflected in the response summary. We are recording this meeting so that anyone who can't attend today will be able to watch it, and we'll post a link to our website. So I have a brief presentation today to basically go over the permit changes from the current 2018 permit, and then talk about the next steps for process. We do have a track change comparison document on our website so that you can see all of the different changes from the technical to the administrative. And if you have any questions about what I'm talking about, those are found on the MS4 website. And then the next steps, I'll go over the public comment deadline of next week, and then the application timelines once this permit is issued. So starting off with the permit changes, there have been permit changes to 3 of the minimum control measures, number 3, 4, and 5. And then we've also added opportunities for phosphorus credit to MS4s for projects that they haven't fully incorporated. And then the municipal road standards have been updated. So starting off with minimum control measure 3, which is the illicit discharge detection and elimination measure. We did send this permit to EPA for their review prior to putting it on notice. And we had some comments from them that we needed to increase or to include specific and measurable goals for some of our minimum control measures. So for illicit discharge detection and elimination, we've updated these items to be specific and measurable. So dry weather screening of all outfalls once per 5-year permit term. Establishing procedures for locating priority areas. So these could be areas within your municipality with old sanitary lines or any other IDDE potential contaminants that you may have in your municipality. And then testing those priority outfalls once per 5-year permit term. And then establishing procedures that include a time frame for eliminating a discharge if found. Now, so these are specific and measurable items. All municipalities already have this minimum control measure, and some municipalities have more specifics than others. So this is really an update to what you already have in your SWMP. I'm going to go on to minimum control measure 4, which is the construction minimum control measure. Now for MS4s, this minimum control measure addresses earth disturbances of over 1 acre. All MS4s already have an ordinance for EPSC for disturbances over 1 acre. And what EPA guided us to include was making sure that the ordinance requires those EPSC measures as well as sanctions to ensure compliance. Many municipalities have that, but we've updated the language in the permit to address that. And then in addition, developing and implementing these following procedures really for site plan review, public comment, and site inspection. These are items that are in the 40 CFR that In the past, because the state has the construction general permit, we have not included some of these specifics because there was an overlap between what the state was doing for 1 acre earth disturbance for our CGP permit and what the MS4 permit says. But what EPA informed us was that we can't eliminate that from the MS4 permit unless we are taking on that minimum control measure for the MS4s. So some MS4s already have these items in their SWIPs, but these do need to be included. So again, developing and implementing procedures for site plan review. This could be during the zoning process, receipt and consideration of comments submitted by the public. Again, this isn't necessarily a permit that needs to be given for this, but a notice option for the public to comment on earth disturbances over 1 acre. And then procedures for site inspection and enforcement. In addition to establishing goals for a number of site inspections that the MS4 will perform in a given year. And if these are not in your current SWIMP, then you have time to implement them. When the permit is issued, these don't have to be implemented, but there has to be a time frame for going forward to implement these and start addressing them in your MS4. Let me scroll over and go on to the next slide. So for the last change to the minimum control measures is the post-construction. And this deals with the gap. And a lot of times there's confusion as to what the gap is. So I'm going to explain that. So the gap, well, updates to the gap between earth disturbance and the state operational permit threshold. So MS4s are required to address construction stormwater that's over 1 acre of earth disturbance. And for those sites, they need to address post-construction. So if a site disturbs 1 acre, then you need to address construction and post-construction. But the state of Vermont addresses post-construction through the permitting program, and we have updated our threshold to shrink that gap that an MS4 is responsible for. So for sites in an MS4 that disturb over 1 acre that are not subject to a state operational permit, the MS4 has to have the program to address those post-construction measures. Our state threshold is now 1/2 acre of new or redeveloped impervious, or expansions greater than 5,000 square feet, where the total resulting is 1 acre. So that gap has shrunk. So if there's 1 acre of earth disturbance in an MS4 that creates less than 1/2 acre of impervious, the MS4's ordinance and post-construction low impact development BMPs would apply. The next update that we made to the permit was based on information and suggestions that we received from the MS4 communities to receive phosphorus credit for projects that they haven't totally incorporated into the MS4. So in the previous permit, if an MS4 takes full legal responsibility for a state operational permit, then that impervious becomes part of their phosphorus control plan, and the MS4 can achieve phosphorus credits in their phosphorus control plan. But we were very specific about full legal responsibility. And this caused an issue because some projects, the MS4 is not able to take over. There are other issues in the MS4 where it didn't make sense for the MS4 to take on all of that responsibility. So we are creating this opportunity for MS4s to get partial phosphorus credit for projects that they get an individual stormwater permit with the private properties. So that's an INDS through the stormwater program, and we're working out the details of this. But if the MS4 and the private property owner apply, get the INDS permit for that property, and list out the assignment of phosphorus credit to the MS4 versus the private property, describe that legal responsibility for maintenance and inspection for each co-permittee, we'll be able to assign that municipal impervious surface phosphorus credit to the municipality. And then the last changes are to the municipal roads section. The municipal roads permit was recently reissued in, I think it was November or December of last year. And so these standards reflect the changes to that permit so that they're consistent for all municipalities. So the MS4s will need to submit an REI reassessment by April 1st, 2028. Start using the Survey 123 app to conduct and upload REI data. And for those of you in Chittenden County, I know that Chris Dubin at the Chittenden County Regional Planning Commission does a lot of this work in coordination with you, and he is already working on the Survey 123 app, and this will make submitting and reporting on data a lot more streamlined and easier for us to assign those phosphorus reductions from the municipal roads to the MS4s. There have been some updates to how we score the road segments from partially meets to fully meets. And those formulas are in those linked documents. Those are on the MRGP website if you're not able to click on those links. And then there have just been minor administrative edits. Again, all of these changes, these specific changes can be seen in the track change document on the website. Now going forward, I have received some public comments already, and the remaining comments are due next Tuesday, which is a week from today of July 18th. And then our proposal for the application timeline, understanding that this permit does include a lot of documentation. So what we're proposing is the NOI form will be due within 60 days of the permit issuance date. So 2 months after we issue this permit. And what we're going to do now is after we receive the comments, we'll review them. We'll put together the response summary and address those questions, make any changes to the permit based on those comments, and then issue it. We're going to try to do that as quickly as possible because we want to get this issued so that we have a valid permit for MS4s to continue to amend their existing SWIMPs and incorporate additional projects. So we'll do it as quickly as possible. But once that is issued, the new NOI is due within 60 days. And then we are allowing up to 180 days, so 6 months, to submit an updated SWIMP that would include all of these changes that we just discussed, and including the latest PCP and FRIPS. The FRIPS may not have changed. The PCPs may not have changed, but they just need to be reflective of any updates in project changes. And those are due within 180 days of the permit issuance. That is what I have for you today on the changes to the MS4 permit. And I am going to stop sharing this and then definitely welcome any questions that you have. Bear with me while I stop sharing. Okay, so I stopped sharing, but I am still recording. And I'm happy to receive any questions, answer what I can. For technical questions, I'm going to hold on answering any technical questions so that we can include those in the official response summary, and get more input to make sure that we're giving you the best response. Does anybody have any questions for us today? Chip.
Hey, Christy, how's it going?
Yeah, I'm hanging in there.
Good. The post-construction requirement acknowledges the overlap with the state coverage, but does the construction MCM recognize that as well, or does both the state and the MS4 have to permit a construction stormwater permit for a site?
Yeah, that's a really good question, and they are different. And this was a comment that we got from EPA that we had to update that construction minimum control measure. You don't have to permit construction sites, but you have to have procedures to review and provide some sort of public comment, whether that's through a DRB process or a zoning process. It's allowing the public to comment on that earth disturbance over an acre. Now, I think that there is some opportunity because there is overlap. You know, the state permits 1 acre sites or disturbances of 1 acre. So I think there's an opportunity for us to, you know, share information with the MS4s to make sure that we're all on the same page and have the same projects. But the residents of the MS4 need to be able to comment to you about that project.
Okay, yeah, it'll be interesting to see how that works out.
I know. We have been able to, you know, address that by you know, acknowledging that overlap in the past. And we've tried to do that, you know, to avoid duplicative efforts, but we'll go forward with, you know, trying to assist each other and do the best we can with that measure. There is the difference with the operational permit, and it may be that it's not in, yeah, I don't know. I'm not going to go forward, but we'll do our best to assist you and make sure that we're providing you with all of our construction information and work with you. Do you have anything else, Chip?
No, just that. Yeah, I just we can't. I don't think we should have a process that's needlessly redundant and where, you know, if we're getting comments, but it's getting a state permit. You know, how do we get that to you? It seems weird that we'd be required to perform that function for a construction project that's already being permitted by the state and already has the public notice through the state, which is wider than the municipality.
Yes.
All right, thank you.
Welcome, Dave. We just went through a presentation that will be posted up on our website, the recording of it. So you can definitely tune into that as well. And now we're opening it up to any questions that any MS4s have. I've also requested that anyone submit written comments in addition to asking them today so that we can make sure to accurately address those in the response summary. Christine, I see you have your hand up.
I do, Christy. Just want to know if there's going to be a second take at this public meeting, because, you know, unfortunately, I don't have my notes with me today to discuss with you. As you may be aware, we are in a state of emergency with the precipitation events that's gone down, and being that we are stormwater, you know, this is affecting most of our professions that are going to be impacted by this permit. So I know there was not intentions of a second comment period or second opportunity to have these discussions, but I don't think that being on the side of the road and dealing with road closures and flooded municipalities and infrastructure and all that's the appropriate time to be going through the MS4 general permit with the state. So I guess I'm just would like to encourage you to have another one, or maybe early next week before the comment period closes, so that we can actually have a more a better opportunity to participate. It seems like you have a pretty low turnout today. So is that something you'll consider?
Yeah, definitely. I'm impressed or surprised, or that anyone was able to make it today for sure. And I appreciate you coming today. The action that I've already taken is recording this meeting, and we're going to be posting that up on the website so that everybody can watch it. I've encouraged everybody to submit any comments that they have as written comments so that I can accurately respond to those in the response summary. I'm not able to answer a lot of technical questions during this hearing because we want to respond to them appropriately in the response summary. But I definitely will be, you know, checking with the program about our ability to hold an additional meeting if we would need to extend the public comment period and renotice the permit. Yeah, I'll be looking to our program for suggestions on how we go forward to address the timing of this hearing for sure.
Okay.
But definitely please submit any comments that you have so that we can include them in the response summary.
Well, right, and my understanding is that comments during this hearing as well, or this public and, you know, hearing as well, is supposed to be part of that official commenting period. I do have, so I can submit them in writing, but it was, you know, wanted to go through the permit with a little more detail, and then wanted to get some feedback from you guys on that. But okay, that's certainly doable. I echo, so you know what Chip was saying with the with concerns around the construction permit, you know, and the need for public comment. I have concerns around, and I've you know, more written down, but you know, as far as hold on, I'm sorry, we got people trying to cross a closed road. Hello. Hi. Sorry, I'll be back, Chrissy. Thank you.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, I appreciate everyone's efforts today, knowing that this is a really inopportune time to host this meeting, and I'm appreciative of everyone making the time to come out to this. I know it's very challenging. We'll do what we can to host another public meeting and, you know, address comments, you know, in person to talk through comments for sure, and definitely also submit them in writing as well. While Christina is dealing with the residents of their municipality, if anybody else has any questions in the meantime. I'm just gonna hold on to wait for Christine to be able to rejoin us. Okay,
Yeah, thanks, Christy. I'll just have to catch up with you guys. Hopefully, you have another one of these early next week. If you don't, I'll try to, get I'll try to communicate my concerns as clearly as I can in writing. It's not always as effective, I think, as sometimes talking through them, but appreciate the consideration.
yeah, thank you, Christine. All right, if nobody else has any questions, I'm going to hold on for a couple more minutes in case something comes to someone. Again, I appreciate you attending today. And we will be in touch about the timelines going forward, and if we're able to host an additional public session or have individual meetings with folks with any other concerns. All right, thank you. I'm going to stop the recording and then hang on for another minute. Thank you.